What if I told you that fear isn't your enemy?
That's a wild statement. Fear feels pretty painful when it shows up.
What if the very thing that makes you feel weak could actually be turned into your greatest strength?
Now that's interesting.
Today on Talk, Learn, Teach, we're showing you the science behind fear and how to transform it. Stay with us. Welcome to Talk, Learn, Teach. I'm David, and I'm here with Nina. Thanks for joining us. If you're new here, please subscribe because what we're covering today is going to change your relationship with fear. And share this with someone you know who struggles with anxiety or nervousness. They need to hear this.
Absolutely. David, I want to start with something that's been on my mind. I recently had to give a presentation at work, and the night before, I couldn't sleep. I was so anxious, I almost asked my manager if someone else could do it instead.
What happened?
I gave the presentation, and you know what? It went well. But I spent the whole morning feeling sick to my stomach. My hands were shaking, I could barely hold my notes. And the worst part was that the anxiety started days before the actual event. I was dreading it, imagining all the ways it could go wrong.
That's such a common experience, and I think a lot of people listening have felt exactly what you felt. That anticipatory anxiety where your mind is creating worst-case scenarios that may never happen.
Exactly. And that's what frustrated me the most. The presentation itself wasn't that scary, but my mind had built it up into this huge, terrifying thing.
Here's what's interesting, though. Your body was responding to a very real signal, even if the danger wasn't actually real. And that's where most people get confused about fear. They think fear is a sign that something is wrong, but fear is actually trying to protect you.
So fear is useful?
Fear is incredibly useful. The problem is that we're living in a modern world, but our fear response is designed for ancient danger. Imagine you're walking through the forest thousands of years ago and you see a lion. Your body goes into fight or flight mode. Your muscles tense, your heart races, your breathing gets shallow, and that response might save your life.
But a lion isn't jumping out of the bushes in 2024.
Right. But your boss asking a difficult question, or you trying to speak in front of a group, or you thinking about asking someone out, your nervous system treats those situations the same way it treats a lion.
That seems like a design flaw.
It's not, though, because those situations do require activation. They require your brain to be sharp and your body to be ready. The problem isn't that we get nervous. The problem is we misinterpret what nervousness means.
So when I'm shaking before a presentation, that's not a warning sign?
It's actually your body preparing you to perform. Think about athletes. Elite athletes experience the same physical sensations that anxious people experience. Elevated heart rate, heightened alertness, adrenaline surge.
But athletes aren't afraid.
That's the key insight. Athletes experience the same physical state, but they interpret it differently. They say, I'm energized, I'm ready. They don't say, I'm terrified. And that's the crucial difference between fear and performance.
So it's all about interpretation?
A huge part of it is, your body isn't lying to you when it gets activated, but your mind is adding a story to that activation. It's interpreting it as danger when it could interpret it as opportunity.
Okay, so how do we actually change that interpretation? That's the part I don't understand. My body is shaking, my heart is pounding. How do I just decide it's excitement instead of fear?
That's the question everyone asks, and the answer is actually simpler than you'd think. But first, let me tell you what doesn't work. You've probably heard people say, just stay positive, or think good thoughts, or don't think about it.
Yeah, and that's the most useless advice. When someone tells me not to think about something, that's all I think about.
Exactly, because trying to suppress anxiety doesn't work. In fact, research shows that when you try to ignore your fear or push it away, it actually gets stronger. It's like you're feeding the thing you're trying to starve.
So what does work?
You have to acknowledge the fear. You have to work with it, not against it. The moment you stop fighting what you're feeling and instead get curious about it, everything changes.
Curious? What do you mean?
I mean, asking yourself, what is this anxiety trying to tell me? What is my body protecting me from? What does my nervous system think is at stake here? When you get curious about the fear instead of fighting it, your brain shifts out of threat mode.
How does that shift the interpretation?
Your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, it gets back online. When you're in pure fight or flight mode, you're operating from your amygdala, which is your emotional brain. Your emotional brain does no nuance. It's binary, safe or dangerous. But your rational brain can say, yes, my heart is racing. Yes, I'm activated. But that activation can serve me. I can use that energy.
So the prefrontal cortex is where the magic happens?
It absolutely is. And here's something most people don't understand. Your body's physical response, the sweating, the shaking, the heart pounding, that's not optional. You can't choose not to feel those things, but you have complete control over your thoughts.
Even when panic is setting in?
Even then, let me give you an example. Imagine you're about to get on a plane and you have a real fear of flying. Your hands start shaking, your stomach feels tight. That's happening. You can't think it away.
Right?
But here's where you have power. You can notice what you're thinking. Maybe you're thinking, this plane is going to crash, I'm going to die, something terrible is going to happen. Those thoughts are driving the fear.
So if I change the thoughts, the fear changes?
When you change the thoughts, you change what your brain is calling the physical state. Let me explain the science behind this more clearly. When you're nervous, your brain is searching for a narrative. It's looking for a story to explain why your body is activated.
What do you mean?
Let's say you're about to speak in public. Your heart is racing. Your body is activated. Your brain goes, why is my heart racing? I must be in danger. This presentation is scary. I might mess up. Those thoughts are driving the fear.
So if I tell a different story?
Exactly. The same racing heart, the same activation, but you could say, my heart is racing because I'm excited about this opportunity. I care about this presentation. My body is giving me energy to do my best work. Same physical state, completely different interpretation.
And that actually changes how you feel?
It changes everything because your brain believes whatever story you tell it. This isn't positive thinking or denial. This is you consciously choosing to interpret your body's signals in a way that serves you instead of sabotages you.
Okay, but that seems like something you have to think about in the moment. What if you're already panicked?
That's where you need a tool. And I want to give you a specific tool that you can use right now, today, whenever you feel that anxiety rising.
I'm ready. What is it?
It's called the thought interrupt technique. Here's how it works. The moment you notice anxiety showing up, the moment you start to feel that fear, you interrupt the thought pattern.
How?
You do something that requires conscious attention. Some people count backwards from 10. Some people name 5 things they can see, 4 things they can touch, 3 things they can hear. The key is that you're forcing your brain to focus on something present and concrete.
Why does that work?
Because anxiety lives in the future. It's always about what might happen. When you pull your attention into the present moment, you interrupt the anxiety loop. Your nervous system starts to realize that there's no actual danger right now. You're okay right now.
So you're essentially tricking your brain.
You're not tricking it, you're just redirecting it. You're saying, I see that you're in protect mode. Thank you for trying to keep me safe, but let me show you that I'm actually okay. And you do that by bringing your attention to the present.
Does that actually work for serious anxiety?
It works for acute anxiety, the panic that happens in the moment. But for underlying anxiety, the stuff that lingers and colors your whole day, that's a different conversation.
What's different about it?
With chronic anxiety, you need to look at the beliefs underneath it. Why does your brain think something is dangerous? What evidence has your brain collected that made it this protective? Usually there's an old experience or a repeated pattern.
So you have to go back and understand why you're anxious?
You have to understand what your anxiety is protecting you from. Sometimes anxiety is protecting you from failure. Sometimes it's protecting you from rejection. Sometimes it's protecting you from loss of control.
How do you change that?
You challenge the belief. You collect evidence that contradicts what your anxiety is telling you. If your anxiety says, if you speak up in the meeting, people will judge you, you look at your experience. Have you spoken up before? What actually happened? Did people judge you harshly, or did they engage with your ideas?
So you're building evidence against the anxiety.
Exactly. And the more evidence you collect that your anxiety is overestimating the danger, the quieter that anxious voice becomes. It's like your brain starts to recalibrate what's actually risky.
That's a longer process than the thought interrupt thing.
It is, but it's also more sustainable. The thought interrupt is for crisis mode. The belief challenge is for long-term anxiety reduction. Most people need both.
What about physical things? Can your body help with anxiety?
Your body is actually your greatest tool for managing anxiety. Because here's something people don't realize. Your nervous system actually doesn't distinguish between different types of activation.
What do you mean?
If you run up a flight of stairs, your heart races, you breathe faster, you get a surge of adrenaline. It's the same physical state as when you're anxious, but your brain knows you just ran upstairs, so it interprets that activation as exertion, not danger.
So if I exercise when I'm anxious, it will help?
Exercise is one of the most powerful anxiety tools available because movement tells your brain that the activation is being used for something. You're not stuck in your nervous system's alarm state. You're actually doing something with that energy.
That's interesting.
Breathing is huge too. When you're anxious, you typically breathe shallow and fast. Your nervous system interprets that as danger. That's what breathing looks like when you're running from something. But if you deliberately slow your breathing, you're sending a signal to your nervous system that says, we're safe, there's no emergency.
So slow breathing calms you down.
Slow breathing tells your nervous system you're safe. Your body then sends that message to your brain. It's the opposite of how most people think it works. People think their brain has to calm down first, but usually your body has to signal safety first.
That's backwards from what I thought.
A lot of people think it's backwards, but your body is actually in control of your emotional state more than you realize. That's why people who exercise regularly have lower anxiety. It's not just about being distracted. It's about your nervous system being more regulated.
So if someone is really struggling with anxiety, what should they do?
Start with the physical. Move your body. Regulate your breathing. Get good sleep. Sleep is huge because a sleep-deprived nervous system is a hypervigilant nervous system. Then add the mental tools. The thought interrupt when you're in acute panic, the belief challenge for underlying anxiety.
And it gets better?
It absolutely gets better. I've seen people transform their relationship with anxiety. People who went from avoiding situations because of anxiety to approaching them confidently. And the shift usually comes when they realize that anxiety isn't the problem. Their interpretation of anxiety is the problem.
So anxiety isn't bad?
Anxiety is information. It's your nervous system saying, hey, something matters to you. Your brain is trying to help you prepare. The question is whether you're going to listen to that information in a helpful way or a harmful way.
That's a completely different perspective.
It is, and it changes everything. Because once you see anxiety as information instead of as a threat, you can start to work with it. You can ask, what is this preparing me for? What do I need to do to feel more confident? What small step can I take?
It's less about making the anxiety go away and more about changing your relationship with it.
That's it exactly. The anxiety might not go away completely, but it stops controlling you. It becomes something you notice and move through instead of something that stops you dead in your tracks.
I think that's really helpful, especially for someone like me who's been fighting anxiety for years, treating it like it's the enemy.
And how's that been working for you?
Not great. The more I fight it, the stronger it seems to get.
That's because fighting it activates your nervous system. You're essentially telling your brain, this is dangerous, we need to fight it. And your brain agrees with you and pumps up the anxiety.
So the answer is to stop fighting?
The answer is to stop resisting and start accepting. To say, I'm anxious. That's okay. My body is activated. That's information. What do I want to do with this energy?
That sounds almost peaceful.
It is. And that's what people are really looking for. Not to have zero anxiety. That's impossible if you care about anything. But to have a peaceful relationship with your anxiety. instead of a war with it.
All right, David, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. This is really helpful information.
I'm glad, because anxiety is something that affects so many people, and most of the time they're being given the wrong tools. They're being told to think positive or to just get over it, but that's not how our nervous systems work.
Is there anything else you'd recommend?
Just one thing. Be patient with yourself. Changing your relationship with anxiety isn't something that happens overnight. It's a practice. You're retraining your nervous system, and like any training, it takes time and repetition.
But it's worth it?
It's absolutely worth it. Imagine what you could do if anxiety wasn't running your life. What opportunities would you take? What conversations would you have? What dreams would you pursue?
That's the real thing, isn't it? Anxiety stops us from living our lives.
It does. And that's why understanding it and learning to work with it instead of against it is one of the most important skills you can develop. Because your life is happening right now, and anxiety steals that from you.
That's a powerful way to think about it.
It is. And I want everyone listening to know that if you're dealing with anxiety, you're not broken. Your nervous system is just doing what it thinks it needs to do. But you can learn to communicate with it differently. You can learn to work with it.
This has been such a valuable conversation, David. Before we wrap up, I want to remind everyone that this is why you should subscribe to Talk, Learn, Teach.
Yes, please. We create content like this regularly. Episodes that help you understand yourself better, that give you tools you can actually use, that empower you to take control of your life.
And share this episode with someone who's struggling with anxiety, someone who's been letting fear make decisions for them, someone who's ready for a different approach.
We'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell us about a time when you let anxiety stop you. Or better yet, tell us about a time when you pushed through anxiety and did something anyway. Those stories inspire other people.
They really do, because someone reading your comment might realize they're not alone. They might get the courage they need to try something different.
Exactly. Your story could literally change someone's life. So please, if you have an experience with anxiety, with fear, or with overcoming either of those things, share it in the comments.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. This conversation means a lot to us, and we hope it means something to you too.
Keep learning, keep growing, and remember, anxiety isn't the enemy. Your resistance to anxiety is. The moment you make peace with that, everything shifts.
Subscribe to Talk, Learn, Teach. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for being here. See you soon.